Welcome to Best Effing Update. I'm your host, Holland March. Let's take a look at last week's results. Pooh Cheese falls to KC Renegades 108-79. Newly acquired Matt Stafford a disappointment this week for Pooh Cheese, while Michael Crabtree an afternoon delight for KC Renegades. Automatic Dads falls to Death by Kyle 122-89. Newly acquired Jordan Reed and Antonio Brown the difference makers in this one. Owner Brandon Owens has now fallen to 0-4 for the first time in his career. World's biggest Kirk Cousins fan tops Werewolves on Wheels 119-75. Ezekiel Elliott having a standout rookie season, and with the return of Le'Veon Bell, owner Jeremy Quarles has built one of the strongest backfields in the league. Rick Moranis with a big week over It's a Hard Gronk Life 126-66. Russell Wilson and Will Fuller all over owner Greg Lee, who puts up a league record low 66 points. That's a tough one. I Can Change This Later right pounds Sir Juke 112-70. Derek Carr and DeMarco Murray took their talents to the field this week, while owner Luke Mosley is now in last place and is now on the hot seat in Thompson Station. The Cotter Otters top No Prior Knowledge 91-70. 4 words in this one: Julio Jones. Lastly, a record-setting day as Jamal About That Bass applies the beatdown of a lifetime on Chief Honey Bears 149-79. Owner Jimmy Burke is now the last undefeated team and in sole possession of first place. Let's get him on the line. Jimmy, you're on Best Effing Update with Holland March. How are you?
Good. Oh my gosh, Holland. Honey, I'm on the phone with Holland. How's it going?
Fantastic. Well, let's just dive right into it, shall we?
Let's do it.
Last week I spoke to owner Catherine Glass, and she was quoted as saying, "I'm looking forward to trouncing Jamal About That Bass." Is it possible that statement was a motivating factor for your team this week?
Oh, you better believe it. We posted bulletin boards up all over the locker room. Her face was all over the locker room. We even threw darts at her face.
Okay, interesting. Well, you are now in sole possession of first place going into Week 5. Did you expect this?
You know, I pre-ranked my draft players, and everybody before me started going running back, so I started getting worried. So I was like, well, if everybody's going to go running back, then I'm going to start piling up on the receivers and do the complete opposite of everybody else. So I was a little leery. I didn't know how it would go, especially when they came out and they said I was going to go 7-6, and we started 4-0. So, you know, rankings are rankings, and you got to do your homework.
You sure do. Well said. Well, this week you're matched up against the 0-4 Automatic Dads. Our research team did some digging and found that you yourself went 0-4 to start your 2003 season. Do you have any advice to owner Brandon Owens on how to get out of this rut?
Sometimes it's hard. I mean, just depends on, you know, sometimes you draft players and they don't perform, and sometimes you get injuries, so it just depends. I don't know. I haven't really looked at his team yet, so I don't know if he has some injuries or what. Maybe he could do a trade. I don't know. My advice is if you can't get out of the gutter, stay in the gutter so you get a better draft pick next year.
It kind of sounds as if you put your phone right in the crux of your armpit, but moving right along. So there is a rumor floating around that you are somehow close to winning $1 million playing an online game called FanDuel. Is there any truth to that?
Well, I like to play lots of sports on DraftKings, and my wife has been giving me a hard time that I was spending too much money. So instead of playing the $3 buy-in for the Million Maker, I played the 25-cent buy-in. Well, I called my buddy on Sunday because he plays in the big tournaments, and I was like, "Hey, man, I scored the most points I've ever scored." And he was like, "Oh, yeah, I didn't do so good." So I didn't even think anything of it. I finished 15th. 25-cent buy-in, I won $3. So I was pretty happy. And I came home the next day, and he called me, and he was like, "Hey, do you realize if you would have put that in a $3 million maker, you would have won the $1 million?"
That stings. Well, lastly, is it true that you were childhood friends with Commissioner Jonathan Dimmel?
Yes, sir.
Can you give us some insight on what that was like?
Sure. I'll tell you about the first time we met. I happened to go over to his house because my friend across the street, Scott, was playing football at his house. So I happened to go over to Jonathan's house. I'd never met him before. And Jonathan and Scott were playing Jason and his older brother, and they were whooping him pretty bad. Well, Jason got hurt, so his older brother didn't have a player. So I said, "Hey, I'll play." The older brother ended up paying Jonathan $1 to let me play football. So it was me and the older brother versus Jonathan and Scott, and I'm pretty sure we came back and won. And so that was how we met, and we were just like best friends, and we did pretty much everything together since then.
So what you're saying in a nutshell is that you are better than Jonathan at football.
I was just faster, probably.
Fair enough. Well, all right, Coach. That's all the time we have for this week. Thank you for joining us, and best of luck.
Thank you.
Okay, let's look at our top players of the week. Jamal About That Base's Matt Ryan is our top quarterback this week with 517 total yards and 4 touchdowns. I Can Change This Later writes DeMarco Murray, our top running back, with 119 total yards and 2 touchdowns. The Cotter Otters' Julio Jones, our top receiver, with 300 total yards and a touchdown. Death by Kyle's Jordan Reed, our top tight end, with 73 yards and 2 touchdowns. Free agent Zach Brown is our top defensive player with 14 tackles, 1 sack, and 2 forced fumbles. Automatic Dad's Los Angeles Rams defense number 1 this week with 3 sacks, 3 interceptions, and 2 forced fumbles. Jamal About That Base's Mike Nugent, our top kicker, with 5 field goals and an extra point. Our top owner this week is Jimmy Burke, owner of Jamal About That Base, scoring a record-setting 149 points. This guy can fantasy football. Okay, let's take a glance at our league standings. And that's it for Best Effing Update. Hope to see you next week.